Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and as I'm sure you can tell by the fact that I'm making another review, another country has chosen their song for Eurovision, and as I'm sure you can tell from the flag behind me, that country is Serbia, by way of Beovizija 2018, and I'd say 2018 in Serbian, but I don't know how, so we'll just have to settle for me saying the name of the national final bilingually, I guess. And as I'm sure you can tell by the title of this video, which might be down there, it might be up there, YouTube's really fond of changing the layout on a dime, they have chosen Sanja Ilić and Balkanika and the song Nova Deca, which means new children, not, as falsely reported on Eurovision.tv, our children, which would be Nasza Deca, I think. I'm not sure how cases work in Serbian, if indeed they have them. Anyway, it's presented in Serbian, plus, according to Wikipedia, some constructed language stuff, and apparently some of it is in the Tolak dialect, but I'm not exactly sure how much. Music by Sanja Ilić and Tatjana Karajanov Ilić, also known as Tanja Ilić, and lyrics by Danica Krstajic. Now, a fun little fact about Balkanika. So, they're a group put together by Sanja Ilić himself, or Aleksandar Ilić to use his full name, and Wikipedia lists a whole load of potential members, and I don't know which ones are on stage with him. So, just to give everyone fair credit, people who have been involved with Balkanika include Aleksandar Radulović, Branimir Marković, Nevena Stamenković, Ljubomir Dimitrijević, Danica Krstic, Maria Bjelanović, Milan Jajina, Mladen Lukic, Nebojša Nedeljković, and Nemanja Kojic. I'm sorry if I pronounced any of those incorrectly. Serbian is nowhere near my first language. I tried my best, I'm sorry. Anyway, let's get on with my first impressions of this song, shall we? Okay, this is gonna sound a little bit mean-spirited, but please stick with me, I implore you. I really wasn't impressed with the lineup in the national final, to be honest, but the more that I think about it, the more I want to blame that on the technology and the acoustics rather than the songs themselves. After all, it took me 20 minutes of solid faff before I could even watch the live stream of the show in the first place, and even then, the page kept refreshing by itself. What's that about, Serbia? Maybe it is just my computer, that could be my computer. But I did have to click the full screen button several times before it would actually do anything, so that I would like to blame on the technology, if nothing else. That said though, of the 17 candidates, why 17, by the way? Because that's a prime number. You can't divide the show into even segments if you have a prime number of candidates, but whatever. Of the 17 candidates, some of the songs really weren't very impressive at all, so, lucky for Serbia, they ended up choosing one of the ones that I did find interesting because clearly my opinion matters and nobody else's in the world. No, but they have picked a song that I like. So, I definitely won't call it the best of a bad bunch because that would totally give the wrong impression, but I will say I'm not surprised this song did as well as it did in the final result. Something in the melody reminds me of Zauvijek Moja, I think it was called, the Serbia-Montenegro entry from 2005, while the structure and presentation of the song actually reminds me more of a cross between Bosnia and Herzegovina's song from 2016 and the stylings of Ilić and Stojan, especially their attempt from 2013. Okay, it is much, of the two, it's much more Ljubavje than Samo Šampioni, but I feel like there is a little bit of Ilić and Stojan-ishness in there. It is still very much its own thing, it's just I find those the easiest things to compare it to, so on paper, it is pretty likeable. But let's look a little deeper and see what comes up apart from the totally not all that fancy graphic on the side of the screen. Well, the big thing with this song, and with Balkanika style in general, is its very pronounced Serbian Byzantine style that they specialise in, which is rather divisive if the general reaction to this song is anything to judge by. Some people aren't so keen on it, but I like it, and hey, I see no problems with celebrating diverse musical styles. I mean, sure, celebrate diversity was last year's slogan, but I'd like to think we've at least kept it on board. There you go, all aboard, I made it relevant. All sources tell me, by the way, that we're going to need to agree on that front across the board and just embrace it if we're going to appreciate Georgia's upcoming entry, but that's off topic. Anyway, like it or not, Balkanika style is very different and very distinct. It's certainly no fast food music, it's definitely not cookie cutter pop. It's of its own identity and you can't fault it for that. If you don't like that style, that is on you, but hey, look, you can't accuse them of doing the thing that everyone else is doing, whatever that may happen to be. And a tasty byproduct of the song being of that kind of flavour is that, in my experience at least, it's very much the sort of thing where you can just put it on and you can just zone out, and it's just really good for that, and I mean that in a really good way. It's something you could just switch off your brain to, but in a good way. I'm not going to say, oh no, it's so boring, it makes me die in the brain. No, it's something I can enjoy and like I can get lost in this song in a good way. I know that can also be a bad thing, but in this case I mean it as a compliment. What I mean is it's got a really captivating soundscape, so there's something there for you to enjoy even if you can't understand lyrics, or even if you can for that matter. If anything, the song's a little on the short side if that's how you intend to use it, but there are limits on how long Eurovision songs can be, so it is what it is, it can't be helped. And one other thing that I've been praising songs for quite a bit this year, I think, I just like the percussion. There have been a lot of songs this year that have good percussion layers to them, and this is no exception. Sure, it's not as steady or consistent or pounding or whatever as it is in other entries this year, but it does play its own role in the overall composition. And while it isn't as forefront or as omnipresent as it is in other songs, it is still something, there's some aspect to it that I can just bop to and I enjoy it. So, all things considered, Serbia actually has brought something good to the table this year, despite what you might think from first impressions. Of course, though, wherever there's something that's a bit different and a bit off the beaten path, there's bound to be things that don't sit right to ears more accustomed to mainstream music. So let's see what you might not enjoy with this one, because that is still a valid stance to have. It's different, but that doesn't mean you have to like it. Well, that in itself is one thing, I suppose. The general public reaction to this has been more or less split down the middle. Maybe not down the middle, it has been split, at the very least. There are people who are fans of this one, and then there are people who don't really like how, quote, strange it is. They mainly cite the vocalizations when they say that, like describing them as off-putting or weird or whatever. And, well, after a few listens, I'm pretty okay with them myself, but I can sort of see how some people wouldn't necessarily be on board with them. I can sort of see how more cynical people might just dismiss them as random wailing. Looking at you, BBC commentators, you really do seem the sort. Which seems a bit harsh, but if people don't like it, then that's really those people's loss. I could also realistically foresee people feeling a little bit lost within the song's rather open plan structure. Why yes, I did just accidentally compare the song to a kitchen. What are you going to do about it? To be fair, there were a lot of adverts for ovens on Serbian TV, so... Anyway, it certainly sounds like this song deviates from structural norms as far as Eurovision songs are concerned, and thus some people may struggle to keep up with that. It may also feel a little bit hectic or possibly messy or unfocused on stage if it isn't choreographed tightly enough. It could be done perfectly well, there is a chance it might not be, and then that might be to the song's detriment. In fact, it will be to the song's detriment if it's not done properly. And one other thing that comes as a side effect of the song's general aesthetic apart from all of the above, it does take a good minute before the body of the lyrics actually starts. For some people, that's not an issue. For others, that qualifies as taking too long to get going. Your tastes may vary, feel how you want to, it's your opinion after all. Do you think it takes too long to get going? Do you think it takes the perfect amount because that's just the genre? I want to hear how you lovely people feel about this year's songs. I care, I love it when people share their opinions. You might notice I have loved comments in the comments section when they share their opinions, whether I agree with them or not, because I just love seeing people think for themselves about these songs. I love you so much, I'm getting off topic. Okay, refocus, Tess. So, ratings out of 10 for this song. I admit, I've warmed up to it quite a bit after the national final, so I'll give it an 8 for now. It didn't really make much of an impression live at first, so I am slightly concerned about how they might stage it in Lisbon, but for the most part, it's great chill-out music that's really good to, as I said, put it on, listen to it, turn your brain off for 3 minutes. But not in a kind of, oh, I'm so bored, I could be doing anything this time, but rather, let the song do the thinking for you kind of turn your brain off. So I mean it as a compliment. As I said though, if you do use it for that purpose, it feels like it's over too quickly, which may be a product of the first minute being build up. Still, it's one that I could see myself coming back to and listening to regularly enough, so yeah, it is pretty okay as far as I'm concerned. As for the technical side of things, well, this is another one of those songs that just so happens to coincidentally get the same score as my personal rating. It has a really good capacity for retaining interest once it's got it, but I feel as though it may struggle a little to convince people to make that initial investment if they're not into this sort of music, which this song can't really do anything about. Either you like this sort of thing or you don't, that's on you. Either you'll enjoy the juxtaposition of the male and female vocals, or you'll find it too easy to disengage from. You might like the alternative style and structure, or it might turn you away. I'll concede that it felt a bit weak during Beovizia, but that might just have been the acoustics of the stage and the technology, because none of the songs in the lineup left that much of an impression, really. Conclusion, how much you like this song is decided by how much you like this song. Yeah, sounds random, right? But is this a step in the right direction for Serbia? I'm gonna go with not really. Of all the countries so far this year, this one feels the most like a lateral move in terms of selection processes. This is Serbia's first national final since 2015, and in the years in between they've chosen some really solid entries, at least in terms of composition and the studio version anyway. Live performances vary, so I am rather disappointed that in that lineup of 17, none of the national finalists stuck out to me all that much compared to the likes of In Too Deep, or Goodbye Shelter, or even Beauty Never Lies. You know, all of those songs were really pronounced, they really stuck out, and yet nothing in the national final stuck out in the same way to me. But maybe I just need time to warm up to Nova Deca. I want to believe that that impression is because of the stage and the technology, but even still, I'm genuinely surprised at the average quality of the songs overall. Judging by Serbia's previous entries, I'd expect the overall standard of entries on average in that national final to be up here, and it was more like here, or thereabouts. Still, they picked one of the better songs in the lineup in the end, so no harm done, I guess. I just expected stronger stuff from everyone else in the show. Now, can we expect to see Sanja and Balkanika in the final? I have to be honest here, I do have my doubts, I'm afraid. Don't get me wrong, I like this song and I think it has plenty of potential, but I do worry. This sort of thing might go right over the heads of the average Eurovision audience, and since it's in the same semi-final as Denmark, Sweden, Hungary, Romania, Russia, Australia, just to name a few, the odds aren't exactly stacked in their favour. It really depends. If people are willing to put their money where their mouth is and prove that they've learned to embrace cultural esotericisms after last year's winner, then this ought to stand an equal shot at the final as everyone else. But if not, Balkanika and Sanja might struggle to make that vital connection on stage with enough people, especially since both of the songs that it reminds me of, that's Ljubav je and Samo Šampioni, in case you'd forgotten, both of those also failed to qualify despite their many good qualities. Still, it's a gamble, and I look forward to seeing the outcome of that. So for now, I have been and will continue to be Tessellating Hexagons, and Serbia, and Balkanika, and Sanja, and everyone else involved in the song, I wish you good luck, and we'll see what comes of this little gamble when you get to the stage in Lisbon. Good luck for May.